Hello and welcome back to Punters Inside Run for 2023. Great to have your company once again. We're looking forward to a wonderful year's racing. It's only really the second week of January. Sometimes that used to be pretty quiet in racing, but it's a huge weekend of racing right around the country. Mick Sharkie joins me. Great to have you back, Shark.
Hello, Matty.
How was Christmas, New Year?
It was good. It was very good. A good time with the family, a few fish, bit of sun.
You love a fish.
Yeah, I do love a fish. The whiting were very good over the summer, so there's plenty of them around in Western Port Bay. But yeah, like most people, we eat and drink a bit too much, and you never know, Matty, this might be the year I just let myself go.
We have to concentrate on the races. And as I said, sometimes January's quiet in sport, but what a weekend we've got. The Magic Millions we're going to concentrate on shortly about the racing, but it's a carnival, isn't it? The sales, a lot goes on at the Gold Coast this time of year.
A lot's been going on up there already. You had horses escaping and running through the main street.
True.
Talk about taking it to the people. They were right out there in the peak hour traffic after the beach run
The week before they were swimming with the bull sharks.
Swimming with the bull sharks. So it's a little bit like Equine Survivor up there at the moment, isn't it? Some of the challenges the horses are taking on, but really good card of racing. I think there's some standout bets on the program. The 2-year-old race is really open, I feel. So yeah, there's some good punting to be had. Yes,
we'll find some tips at the Gold Coast. Also, James Lamb from punters.com joins us to talk about the racing at Flemington. They've got the Group 3 Standish over the 1,200 metres there. And Nick H in his farewell appearance.
Oh.
Week 1 farewell. How do you work that out?
Oh.
But anyway, he's going to join us to talk the racing at Rosehill. But let's get stuck into the Magic Millions. It's a huge day, as we said. Over $11 million in prize money. It gets bigger every year, the Magic Millions. The 2-year-old race, it is wide. A lot of the favourites drew wide, so it made things very difficult for punters.
Yeah, it's a really difficult race to assess. I think there's two ways to think about it. The standout performances from the Jim Crack and the breeders were Platinum Jubilee and Empire of Japan. They both resumed and they were both beaten. And I think punters sometimes think, oh, it got beaten. Maybe it's not that good.
We drop off.
They drop off a little bit. But you've got to remember that this is the grand final race. It wasn't the first up run. That was the race that brings them on for this one, which is worth, as we know, $2 million. So game day, big grand final day for Empire of Japan and Platinum Jubilee. Then you've got the likes of Sovereign Fund, who's just been winning, Royal Entrance, who's just been winning. There's some horses down towards the bottom as well, like Skirt the Law, just been opening fields up in Queensland. Okay, not to the standard of this field, but has been winning by 5 and 6 lengths. So very, very interesting race, lots of different form lines.
These 2-year-old races at the coast can be really sort of mad helter-skelter because those horses that are drawn wide are trying to get cover and trying to get to the front. Is this going to be a mad helter-skelter race this year?
Yeah, I think especially with some speed drawn wide, Sovereign Fund out wide, a couple of others out there, you know, they're going to have to push across. I think you look back at the record of this race of the winners, they jump from usually a low or a good gate, and they usually, watching the replays, settle 3rd, 4th, 5th, just in behind the speed. They're natural speed horses that probably don't have the absolute engine to gun it early and get across, other than Hootson, who jumped from the wide gate the year she won and led all the way. I think you just want something on the back of the leaders that pops out at the top of the straight and goes. All
right, where did you land for your top 3 for the 2-year-olds?
Well, I'm hoping Platinum Jubilee's that horse. I can't get that Jim Crack win out of my mind. It was phenomenal. You know, with 200 to go, she was still 5 lengths off them and she wins. Now, that was a heavy track. We saw her jump, go to the front when she resumed. I thought it was a really good return. I think she's that horse to land in that box seat position, and hopefully she's got the turn of foot at the end of the race. Really, really keen on her. I think Skirt the Law is in there with an undeniable chance. And the other one that I wanted to touch on was Sunsource. Great win in the Ballarat Magic Millions race. And then in a slow run race behind Sovereign Fund, just didn't know how to get around that corner. The blinkers go on here, low gate. Mark Zahra on. I think he'll run a race too.
Well, I've ended up with Skirt the Law, the horse you mentioned that has been doing really, really well, winning by good margins, up against lesser opposition, but drawn that barrier that you talked about, drawn barrier 4, and I think 1200's a no issue.
You have to believe your eyes sometimes too, don't you? Just with the ease of those wins.
The easy wins, Empire of Japan's got, the Snowden's got a good hold on this race, and J-Max decided to stay with the Empire of Japan and looking for that 1200, I think. And sometimes with these mad helter-skelter races, you need just a tough horse. Strong, tough thing at the end, and I think Infatuation for Bjorn Baker might be that tough one that could be there right at the finish after that speed battle has gone past. So I've got Infatuation to run 3rd. Which leads us to our next Magic Million race, the 3 and 4-year-old, the Guineas over the 1,425 metres. Just as difficult, I think.
Yeah, I think really difficult race. There's the horse in the race, though, that I think is an absolute standout bet. It's not massive each way odds, but I can't see Russian Conquest missing the top 3.
Okay, yep.
Her good track form is really, really good. Her only poor runs have been on wet ground. I think off the back of that first up run where she absolutely flew to the line at Wyong, I think this is definitely grand final day for her, but I think she'll run a super race. James McDonald up, a middle gate. Hopefully she doesn't get too far back. I think she'll just go and win the race.
You're not on the Yellow Brick Road? 5 wins in a row.
Super hard to beat.
Betting suggests that it's still there.
Yeah, super hard to beat. And the good thing about Yellow Brick Road, he'll land up on speed, so he'll kick and do his thing, and it's the horse to run down without a doubt from the 200. Just a matter of whether Russian Conquest is good enough to chase him down.
All right, so I've got a feeling you've got Russian Conquest on top.
Yes.
Your other two.
Yellow Brick Road in for second, and then
It's
of
Yellow
course...
Brick, but I just call it Yellow Brick.
Oh, sorry, yeah. It just lends itself to that, doesn't it? You start sort of going
I start
down
singing too.
Do you?
Yeah, not now. Later.
Oh, I thought that was a little segue to something. King's Consort, number 3, the old Leneva Park favourite. I've got to throw it in there. Yeah, the homebred, he'll go in there.
I've got your question to whether I'm going to sing. Hell I am. I've got Hell I Am on top. One well first up. Unlucky in that Gosford Guineas, which I think is a really good form race for this. It's got good third up record, and Jamie Carr takes the ride. So I've got Hell I Am on top. Russian Conquest, you've mentioned everything there, comes as discussed, that same race, the Guineas. And I've got Tijuana. I know it's a drift in the betting. It's a real drift in the betting, but I just think can run really well fresh, not far off a Group 1 winner. So Tijuana.
Saturday night, after a big race day at the Gold Coast, Broadbeach might feel like Tijuana at about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It
may well do. Any other bets on the Gold Coast for you before you get to that party?
King of Sparta, I really like it in the sprint. I think it's a standout bet in the sprint. I think the best value is Diamonds in the mares race. Her 2 wins in Adelaide in stakes level, the Christmas stakes she won last time. Huge from the back of the field. She's in form, she goes there and she runs around at 13 to 15 to 1, something like that.
I've got my other bet there is race 4, number 2, Scalapini, our good old friend Scalapini. One on the way to a spell and has a really good fresh record. I'm expecting big things with Mark Zara, a big race rider on board. And a value bet, not huge value, it's coming a little bit, but deficit in race number 3. Like the way she worked to the line, dropped 6.5 kilos on that win last start, so deficit for me. All right, that's what is going to be a huge meeting at the Gold Coast covered. We'll take a break. James Lamb from Punters.com will join us to take a look at the Standish and the card at Flemington.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Time to talk racing at headquarters at Flemington for the Standish. Is the main event, the Group 3 over the 1,200 metres. Man knows all about Melbourne racing is James Lamb from punters.com.au. James, welcome back, mate. Again, the same question to Shark. He turned into a whale over Christmas, New Year. How was the celebratory period?
I was already fairly plump, so I don't know if I've put any more on. But yeah, fair bit of cricket, Matty, and pulled up sore after every bit of bowling that I did.
We must mention this. You have an annual cricket match.
Yes.
And there was some lots of injuries.
There was. I injured my neck putting on a cricket helmet.
Injured your neck?
Putting on a helmet, that's a first.
You tweaked a muscle? Or?
Yeah, just a little shock down the side of my body.
Yeah.
Another bloke did a calf running into bowl, and another guy did a hamstring running between wickets. So the cricket game might not be long to this world. Might be moving to the lawn bowls next year.
Remarkable.
I think it's outstanding.
I was going to ask how fit people were, but I think we've got a fairly good picture.
Bloke broke a wrist putting on a glove, did an ACL putting on the pads.
Very fragile, osteoporosis.
Yeah, well, don't worry about it. Let's move on to a day's racing at Flemington. The card overall?
Yeah, it's not a bad card, not a bad betting card. There's not too many shorties on there, unlike last week where we had a couple that were rolled. But yeah, it looks a hot one. We might see a few scratchings if we do hit that 36, 37 degree mark.
The Group 3 Standish looks difficult. It's around $6 the field. I think the interesting runner, there's a couple of Perth runners coming over. The interesting runner, though, is Western Empire. It's a railway winner, a Group 1 winner, down the straight over 1,200.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing in 2 runs for Danny O'Brien last time, but has jumped out really well. I know Shark was a fan of the jump out. I'm probably just willing to take it on first up with that weight over 1,200. Bob Peters has sort of said there's bigger fish to fry. I don't think he'll be fully wound up, but he should be hitting the line hard. Graham
Begg has a couple of runners that are good chances here, and he does seem to be able to train and win it down the straight, doesn't he?
Yeah, 2 mares, Vespertine, who won the Cup Day Sprint, I reckon, and Rose Quartz, who's been so close to breaking through, hasn't she? And probably deserves to get a stakes win in a race like this, but she's going to need a little bit of luck, won't she? As will Vespertine from Gate 1. Both get back run on mares.
Yeah, Vespertine, I was a bit worried about that barrier 1. You never like to see them draw barrier 1. I think Rose Quartz has probably drawn a bit better out in barrier 8 and should be able to find the right part of the track.
The other WA horse, Indian Pacific, it's been a while since Indian Pacific's won a race.
Has been, but Group 1 placed down the straight. So if it brought that sort of form to Flemington, last run was a little bit ordinary. It's probably not racing in its best form, but you know, horses for courses down the straight, they can turn up on their day. So yeah, it's another one that you can't rule out. As you said, very wide open race.
All right, so you've got to land somewhere. Where did you land?
Oh, I am going with Rose Quartz. I know she was disappointing over 1,000 metres here, 2 back, but wrong part of the track. That was a horse who drew barrier 1 that day. Was never in a great spot, and that race probably confirmed that she's not a 1,000-metre horse. She gets to her pet trip for the first time this campaign, 1,200. 3 goes down the Flemington 1,200 for 2 wins and a second, and probably her peak performance came over this route last February when she blew them away by about 3 or 4 lengths. So if that Rose Quartz turned up, I think she'd be winning this, but she's probably not racing at her absolute peak, but I'm hoping she'll be peaking on Saturday.
Second and third selections?
Going with Snapper, I just think probably leads with 54 kilos. Forgiving the last start down the straight, had 60 kilos and was 6 or 7 weeks between runs. So it wasn't a terrible effort, just got a bit tired late. And I've got Halvorsen. I always think this horse is a lot older than it actually is. It's only a 7-year-old. Won this race in slick time last year and 5-time winner down the straight, absolutely flies down the straight. So I got him in for third.
Got a funny feeling you're going to agree with what he just said, Halvorsen being a horse that just loves the straight.
You know what? He goes around at each way odds in these races, Matty. He often wins them. You know, I think that last run he was just a bit keen and fresh. Jockey reported as much as well, with a little gap between runs. So hoping that brings him on for what should be his summertime grand final. Each way odds, I'll play Halvorsen. I'm throwing in Western Empire. I think he'll run a really good race here. That jump out at Pakenham, I think it was, geez, he trucked to the line. And Superstorm, who's a pretty good horse, was outside him. He won the heat and he was ridden out. So I think Western Empire's going pretty well. Indian Pacific next best. I think he's over here to spark up again down the straight. It seems to have done the trick for him in the past, but he's just been a little off the boil in his summer prep in Perth. I'm
going with Indian Pacific. I think, as James mentioned, it has a second in a new market, drops to just the 54 kilos. Daniel Moore takes the ride, drawn in that sort of 7 or 8 sort of the right spot to be, whether you go in the middle or you tend to go wide. Rosa Quartz second selection is everything that James has said, and I've thrown in Vespertine. Would have gone with, perhaps if the draws had been the opposite, you swap them around, don't you, the 2 grade bed runners. Vespertine with that barrier 1 probably puts it down to third. All right, that's the Group 3 Standish. What about some other bets that we should be concentrating on?
Really keen on race 5, number 2, Forbidden City, going with the mare's in form theory, and this mare is absolutely airborne at the moment. Good winning at Sandown 2 back, and then just blew them away at the Valley last start. That was incredibly arrogant, sat back and just looped around the field and just kept on going. I think she would have won by 3 lengths if the race was another 100 metres. So I think she probably settles a little bit closer in this as well. She doesn't need to be out the back and looping them. I'll probably settle around midfield or just forward of that, and there's no reason why she can't at least hold that level. 4th up, I think she is on Saturday, and I know it's a rising grade on paper, but it doesn't look that much of a harder race. So I think she's a really good bet at $3 plus if we can get that on Saturday.
That's your best bet. Any other bets in value?
Yeah, next best was race 8, number 6, Kentucky Casanova. Really good fresh horse, 2 from 2 when first up, and really liked his recent jump out over 1,000 metres at Pakenham. He finished second in that jump out, but the winner of that heat was really ridden out, and the jockey on Kentucky Casanova didn't barely move the muscle. So I think he's ready to go first up, and the connections have actually knocked back, or this was a while ago, but they knocked back $500,000 from Hong Kong for this horse. So I obviously think he's got a few good wins in him, and he should be running well on Saturday. I see there's already been a fair bit of early money for him, but we're still getting around the $4 quote for Kentucky Casanova.
Always sell, Matty.
Always sell. Always sell. Someone told me that at a very young age. Always sell. Your bets for the day?
Forbidden City is my best as well. She's just airborne, and that was such an easy win last time. I think she'll just go and do it again. And Flemington will probably suit her better, that big long straight to wind up in a straight line. So looking for another wide margin win from her. Going to race 7, Arron Bay. Went off near enough to favourite at $3.50, $3.60 chance last time. They handed up the lead, and then he sort of got caught 2.5, 3 horses wide, and then blended into the race a bit early. Nothing went right in the run. Before that, he dominated a race and won. I think he's over the odds in this event.
I've got Forbidden City on top, and for those of you watching saying, you can't all have the same horse. Well, we all do the form separately. You can have the same horse. Forbidden City, for everything the boys mentioned. Value, I black booked Blowing when it finished hard that race. I'm hoping from Forbidden City's race that Hluchaniuk finishes well. Hluchaniuk ran in that same race and Blowing sort of finished around that, so I think that could be a good form line there. Gets the 1400, his only winning distance, so my value is Blowing in around the $10 mark, but we didn't get your value bet.
Yes, I should have mentioned that. Race 9, number 17, Miso. Fan of the soup and a fan of the horse, Matty. There's 2 clear faves in this race, and I'm pretty happy to bet around them. I think Miso probably leads from a good draw, provided he steps cleanly, which he didn't do at Sandown 2 back, which was costly. But coming out of a benchmark 64 at Warrnambool, so it doesn't look great on paper, but I think the winner there, Wishlaw Lass, is a pretty smart horse. They gapped the rest and they ran really fast time. So I said when I watched that race, I'm keen to follow both of these horses, and Miso has turned up in a winnable race at around $8 or $9.
The good thing about Miso, it should be served first, so it should finish first.
I like that.
I do. Thank you, James. Good to see you again.
Good to be back, Matty.
Great to have James Lamb back. We'll finish off at Flemington, and on the other side, we'll talk to Nick H, and we're talking racing at Rosehill Gardens.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
And for the first time in 2023, we take a look at racing in Sydney. It's a big day at Rosehill Gardens, and I'm torn between two lovers here, feeling like a fool, because it's great to have Nick H back to talk racing, but the sad thing is, mate, this is going to be the last time you're on the program. You've sort of come in here and sort of shocked us a little bit because you're moving on, but welcome back firstly.
Yeah, thank you. It's a short spell this time. It's the one run and then retired to stud, but hopefully a successful one start preparation here.
We should mention that you're moving on to a new role at Moonee Valley Racing Club, so that's terrific.
Yeah, still involved in racing, which I'm excited about.
Yep. All right, mate. Well, so you've got, you know what he has to do. Got to finish with a bang.
He has to. He must.
He must.
There's no other option.
Yeah. What we thought we might do is take a look at, because the Magic Millions is on, you're going up there straight after this to sort of do some wheeling and dealing, and there's a lot of talk about 2-year-olds and breeding at the moment. So we thought we might take a look at that 2-year-old race, the first race at Rosehill. It's pretty tricky sometimes, these races, but there seems to be one down the bottom that everyone's sort of arriving at.
Yeah, we've got Steel City down the bottom, a relation to September Run, who, given a couple of trials, and its most recent one, a really hard hit out. And I think that should have her prime for this first up run. The time was slick because obviously they did go out pretty hard there, but the two of them up the front there, they put a big space on the field, and she does look pretty smart.
Looks the one to beat. Shark, this is your sort of wheelhouse, looking at breeding and bloodlines, and you had a good look at some of these, the unraced. Is there any dangers here to this Steel City?
Oh, of course. You're talking about trial and jump out form. You've got to take it to the races, but what I loved was she was ridden out. So we actually got to see her turn a foot, and the gap that they put on the rest of them was like 15 odd lengths. It was huge. So I'm tipping she's got a motor. I know a couple of the owners in the horse, and they've been talking about her
yeah, I know a couple of the owners.
For a little while now. I think you might know a couple of them as well.
Oh, I better look it up.
Yeah, one AW Brownless is in there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And the word from the stable is that could be, well, they think she's stakes class, if not group class.
Yep.
So you'd want to see something pretty good. She's got the pedigree to do it as well, close relation to September Run. I would expect her to go very, very close here. But there's a couple of others in the race, maybe, that on pedigree look really good.
Yep.
General Salute, he's got some good genetic markers. His trials have been good. I like the way he shapes up in Fighter Town. Colt by Snitzel, out of an American mare. We don't see many midshipman mares in Australia, but good broodmare sire, does the job over in America. I think this colt looks like he could be above average too.
You're going to tip Steel City?
I am.
Yeah, I'm going to tip Red Resistance just to be different. It didn't run as it was in the same trials. It ran 54.86 rather than, I think it was about 54.9 or something for Steel City. But do I get anything from the breeding?
Well, Heatherly was an exceptional horse. Yeah, really, really quick. Russian Revolution's doing the job as well. Yeah, there's enough there behind her on the page to say that she can go very well as well.
I'm just looking for a better price.
Yeah, well, what price is he?
I don't know. I'll look it up after the program.
Steel City's going to take a lot of the market because, genuinely, some of those owners love a bet. Yeah. So it's going to be pretty short, I think. All
right, that's the 2-year-olds for a bit of a different look at the first race from Rosehill. Nick, now the pressure's on you, mate, on your last program. Your best bet.
Absolutely. Best bet in race 7 with Spacewalk, who resumes here as a gelding, and I think that could be the making of him here. It's a nice race for him to return in, gets in with the lightweight. Comes into it with a nice trial as well. So, look, the Horned Unicorn's absolutely flying. Just a little bit of a tricky gate this time around for him, and I think Spacewalk is the one to beat.
It looks the best bet of the day in Sydney, doesn't it?
Different sort of class, isn't it? Like the Horned Unicorn, the fit, in-form horse, it's been winning well, as you say, but Spacewalk with some genuine stakes form around him, And that trial was everything you wanted to see because he ran in a straight line this time, Nick. Whereas in the past, we know he can dart and shift and move around a little bit, particularly late in the race.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, that 3-year-old form that's around him does look pretty strong compared to what he's up against here.
Well, you're Neil Armstrong, you're Buzz Aldrin, I'm Michael Collins, I'm parking the car, I'm doing laps of the block, I'm the third bloke, I'm going spacewalk best of the day as well. So, you know, at benchmark 88, just a 53 kilos, ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? So
it does.
We're all walking on the moon here for the best bet. Your next best and also your value bet for the day.
Next best in the last there with Snapped, who returned with a really nice win down in Melbourne. Up in grade a little bit here, but look, she's a progressive mare. She went off the ball a little bit with the last 2 runs in the last campaign, but, you know, started in a group 3 really short. So they obviously thought, you know, she was going really well coming into that. I think she's back on track. I think she gets a win in the last. Value race 8 with Mandabos. Last 3 runs been beaten less than half a length, placing in all 3 runs there. Again, comes up double digits. I just think it's, you know, from, you know, not a big stable there. So we get a nice price again. I think it's a good each way play.
Any value for us in Sydney?
Yeah, just a value bet in the last. I like Snapped, hard to beat. I was just worried about the inside gate with the apprentice on. You know, they'll make it pretty difficult for him, I would have thought. Jewellery down towards the bottom. Great win at Canterbury 2 starts ago. And then last time, just a bit soft in the market, got into a really awkward spot, ran on, but not under any great pressure late. I'm thinking with a light weight, she might be able to bounce back at a double-figure price.
I've got one in race number 9, Touristic. So the 2 runs in Australia over the 1500 and the 1800, gets to the 2000, third up, maybe gets to a more suitable sort of distance, and McAvoy sticks. So some good vibes on Touristic. Mate, well, I don't know what to say, except good luck going ahead, and thanks for all your help here on Punters Inside Run.
Thank you, it's been great fun, and as you mentioned, hopefully we're going out with a bang.
And don't be frightened to just keep texting some tips and numbers or whatever. I know you'll still be keeping your eye across the form.
And free Cox Plate tickets.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Look forward to being in the corporate box there at the Valley.
The corporate box, yeah.
Good luck, Nick.
Thanks, mate.
And thanks for joining us. And that was Nick for the last time here on Punters Inside Run, but it's not the last thing we'll do today. After this, all the tips in the big call.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
This is the big call on Punters Inside Run, where we recap all the tips from all our experts to find some winners for the weekend. Shark, take us through James Lamb's best at Flemington.
No worries, Matty. Standish handicap for Lammy. Rose Quartz number 8, ahead of number 11, Snapper, and number 2, Halvorsen. His best is Forbidden City, race 5, number 2. His next best, Kentucky Casanova, race 8, number 6, and Miso is his best value, race 9, way down the bottom, number 17.
Nick H in his final program here on Punters Inside Run decided to have a go in the first race in the 2-year-olds. He's pretty keen, as Sharky is, on number 12, Steel City. His best bet at Rosehill is Spacewalk, race 7, number 8. Next best is in the final event, race 10, number 3 in Snapped, and the value is in race 8, number 12 in Mandabos.
Right, let's start with my look, Matty, at Magic Millions, the 2-year-old classic. I'm with number 10, Platinum Jubilee, ahead of number 13, Skirt the Law, and at value, number 3, Sun Source, around 20 to 1.
Yep.
Magic Millions, 3-year-old Guineas, Russian Conquest.
Very keen.
Number 14, very keen. Yellow Brick, the favourite, number 4 in next, and Old Mate from Leneva, King's Consort, number 3. My best on the Gold Coast is race 6, number 1, King of Sparta in the sprint, and Diamonds, race 5, number 4, best value up there for me. Flemington best, Forbidden City, race 5, number 2. I think we're all sort of on that train.
Yep.
Best value, Arran Bay, race 7, number 4. At Rosehill for me, I'm with Steel City as well, race 1, number 12. My best value there is Jewellery.
I like the name.
Race 10,
There's value
13.
in Jewellery.
Yeah, there is.
There is, apparently.
Yeah, Spacewalker, hard to beat as well.
All right, and in the Standish handicap?
Standish handicap, Halvorsen, number 2, ahead of Western Empire, number 1, and Indian Pacific, number 3.
All right, my best bet starting at the 2-year-old classic at Magic Millions. I've gone 13, Skirt the Law, ahead of 4, Empire of Japan, and 8, Infatuation. In the 3-year-old Guineas, I've got number 7 on top, Hell I Am, Russian Conquest second at number 14, and Tijuana number 1 for third. My best bet on the coast is Scalapini. Love this horse, race 4, number 2. Best value, Deficit, race 3, number 14. In the Standish handicap at Flemington, I've gone with Indian Pacific. Hasn't won for over 2 years, but I'm hoping for number 3 ahead of 8, Rose Quartz, and number 4, Vespertine. My best bet at Flemington, it's a trifecta. We're all on Forbidden City, and my best value is in race 9, number 14, Blow In. to Rosehill in that first race. I've gone against Steel City. I've gone with Red Resistance just to be a little bit different. We're all on Spacework, so we're all on Forbidden City. We're all walking on the moon. Best value is in race 9, number 11, Touristic, and my quaddie, my first quaddie of the year, Shark.
I can't wait for this.
Here it is. 1, 3, 4, 8, 11.
Right.
1, 3, 4, 10.
Okay.
3, 6, 8, 9. And in the last leg, coming home with Victory Bay, British Columbia, and Blow In. It's around 41% for $100.
You know what? How were your quaddies going over summer?
Not that great. Towards the end of the program last year, I got a couple, but over the holiday period, 3 legs in a second as always.
I'll tell you something. You'll get this one.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. We had the finger point, and that's what we wanted. Mate, great to have you back.
You too, Matty. Can't wait for next week.
Yes, and great to have you back watching Punters Inside Run. That's it for the first show of the year. Make sure you subscribe below. You can follow us on social media. We'll see you next time.